Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers are nearing the end of their second week on strike with no agreement reached. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco says patients are now being warned there may soon be new disruptions affecting pharmacies and labs.
What do we want? A contract! When do we want it? Now!
As negotiations continue, Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers return to the picket line Thursday, pressing for changes they say are needed to protect staff and patient care. The union, representing around 31,000 workers in California and Hawaii, says the dispute isn't just about pay, but about staffing levels they say are unsafe, especially in high-risk care settings.
So I need to have enough people present that are able to catch a baby, get a mom situated, stabilize. It's a high-stress situation, but it's also an unsafe situation.
Elizabeth Cochran has been a labor and delivery nurse at Kaiser for 3 years.
When you are having a baby, you have a high risk of hemorrhage, you can get infections. There's a lot of things that happen in a very short amount of time when babies are coming out.
Kaiser Permanente says its nurses already earn 16 to 25% more than their peers, and that its hospitals exceed state staffing requirements. But workers on the picket line say those numbers don't reflect daily conditions inside facilities.
You could start off the night with 4 to 5 patients. You could end with every single room is filled and the entire triage is full. It just depends.
Kaiser disputes the union's claims, saying it has offered what it calls the strongest compensation package in its national bargaining history, totaling roughly a 30% pay increase over the length of the contract. The health system says union wage demands would raise payroll costs by about $3 billion and make health care less affordable for members.
Kaiser increases their wages, their membership prices for their patients every year regardless, not just during contract years when we're trying to fight for our contracts.
Kaiser is also preparing for a possible second open-ended strike starting Monday, involving pharmacy workers and clinical lab scientists. The hospital has already alerted patients about possible disruptions next week. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
I'm Ariella Scalise, and coming up tonight, staying rather cloudy here as our winds continue to diminish. Temperatures drop to around 56. A cooler day ahead on Friday, a weekend warm-up, and then we're talking about the return of some more showers. We'll take a closer look at when that could arrive coming up.
Lemon Grove City Council voted Tuesday to temporarily expand tenant protections. KPBS reporter Elaine Alfaro says the new requirements follow public outcry over a recent rise in no-fault evictions.
I really appreciate everybody who's come out, shared your voice, shared your experience. You're not alone. There are other properties that have also come to us with issues.
The council's action on Tuesday made Lemon Grove the latest city in San Diego County to create broader protections for renters facing eviction. It mainly focuses on so-called no-fault evictions, when tenants are evicted even though they've paid their rent and not violated terms of the lease. Here's Mayor Allison Snow.
I know how urgent this issue is, and every day we sit on our hands and pretend like there's nothing that we can do. Is one day that one more person joins our homeless population.
Under the temporary ordinance, landlords will face additional requirements when they initiate a no-fault eviction. They include 120 days notice, relocation assistance, and an extra month's rent. The ordinance will be in effect for 180 days. Sheila Spencer was among the more than a dozen community members who spoke in support of expanded protections. Neighbors and family in her apartment building have been served eviction notices.
It's a lot of us, we're like a family there, you know what I mean? And for this whole, like I said, this whole situation is shocking to all of us.
The temporary requirements will not change the circumstances for those who already received eviction notices. A permanent ordinance may come later. Until then, city officials said they will gather community feedback. Elaine Alfaro, KPBS News.
News broke this week that a county supervisor is considering major revisions to how the county of San Diego is governed. It could include converting the leader of county operations into an elected mayor. For this week's Why It Matters segment, Voice of San Diego Scott Lewis explains how we got here.
"16 years ago, the largest union of county employees and Democrats pushed hard to put term limits on the 5 supervisors who oversee the county. The supervisors, all Republicans then, had stayed in their jobs for a long time without serious challenge. The push succeeded, and slowly Democrats have now achieved a solid majority on the 5-person Board of Supervisors. Now, they're rethinking term limits and many other things about how the county is governed. Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer has been working with unions and the Center on Policy Initiatives to overhaul the county. They are considering a ballot measure that would put an elected official in charge of the county's operations, a mayor for the county. They want to extend term limits for supervisors and otherwise install other offices and programs that would make how the county works more transparent, they say. The measure could put term limits on the sheriff and change the roles of other countywide elected offices like the treasurer or county assessor, especially if there's a new elected county mayor. Lawson-Remer and her allies were not quite ready to talk about the full plan because it's not finished. But when we found out about it and the discussions, they acknowledged them. A measure could go on the ballot countywide as soon as June, and it could help Supervisor Lawson-Remer herself extend her time in office. She said it's much bigger than that, though, and she gave us a statement saying reforming the county charter would, quote, better serve residents. The charter is like the Constitution of the county, and only voters can change it. But this would be the biggest change to county operations in a century. For Voice San Diego, I'm Scott Lewis, and that's why it matters.
Voice of San Diego is one of our partners for the Public Matters Initiative. You can learn more at kpbs.org/Public Matters. Good progress is being made toward a long-term solution to the Tijuana River sewage crisis. So says EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who was in San Diego today. KPBS reporter John Carroll has more from Coronado.
Maya, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin was joined here by the Administrator of the Small Business Administration, Kelly Loeffler. Zeldin has, according to both Republicans and Democrats, really taken this environmental crisis quite seriously. He really didn't have anything new to report per se. He just updated progress on initiatives that are already underway. As anyone who's been following this story knows, the problem begins on the Mexico side of the border, but new agreements and memorandums of understanding have been entered into between the two countries, which should eventually get us to a long overdue solution. Zeldin says he's keeping close tabs on progress on both sides of the border.
We are monitoring it every week, throughout the week. We are confirming, verifying that this work is progressing. There are projects slated for 2027. There's one project that's slated for 2028. It is our assessment that all of this needs to be completed in order to implement and have a permanent 100% solution.
Zeldin spoke after holding a roundtable meeting with members of San Diego's congressional delegation, along with local elected officials. Democratic Representatives Scott Peters and Mike Levin praised Zeldin's work on this issue, as did Republican Representative Darrell Issa. Someone who was not at this roundtable was Supervisor Paloma Aguirre, but she did have a private one-on-one meeting with Zeldin earlier today. You may recall Aguirre was the mayor of Imperial Beach before she was elected to the County Board of Supervisors. I spoke with her a short time ago, and she joined in the bipartisan chorus of support for how things are moving along.
We are going to continue working together, moving forward, uplifting some of the priorities that are still needed, and continuing to uplift what we're seeing on the ground with the grandmas, with the kids, with the moms that are losing work or missing school, that are continuing to be affected by this despite all of the efforts that are underway.
I mentioned that the administrator of the SBA, Kelly Loeffler, was also here today. She met with several local small business owners in the South Bay, and she says her main takeaway is that this is indeed a nonpartisan issue. She says she heard from both Republicans and Democrats about how important it is to get this issue solved once and for all. In fact, they said their businesses depend upon it. Administrator Zeldin says projects will continue over the next couple of years, and he says if all goes well, this decades-long environmental disaster should be in the rearview mirror by early 2028. In Coronado, John Carroll, KPBS News.
I'm William Brangham. Tonight on the NewsHour, as immigration crackdowns continue, new polling shows a majority of Americans oppose ICE's tactics. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
A federal judge has paused the Trump administration's termination of temporary protected status for hundreds of thousands of Haitians for now. TPS, which allows holders to live and work in the U.S., was set to expire this week. But as Lee Waldman reports, the uncertainty has many who work in elder care industry worried about what these changes could mean for their field.
Immigrant workers make up nearly 30% of the aging services workforce. That's according to a 2023 study by the nonpartisan nonprofit KFF. Elder care advocates are worried about the impact of efforts to remove some of those immigrant workers.
There's no question that it could be fatal. I mean, when you remove workers, then care is disrupted.
Elder care industry leaders like Katie Smith-Sloan are bracing for potential impacts to a key pillar of their workforce, immigrants. More than 350,000 Haitians were narrowly spared this week from losing their temporary protective status when a federal judge stepped in. A sizable share of them care for older Americans.
When we make changes to our immigration policies, when we suspend the opportunity for people to come to this country or send them back to their home country, it creates enormous amount of disruption.
Immigrants make up for more than a quarter of workers who provide direct care in long-term care settings, according to KFF, a health policy research group. They make up nearly 1/3 of those who work in home care. Katia Guillaume, a union leader representing home care workers, feels the attempts to cut TPS designations are being done maliciously.
They have been a valuable contribution to the healthcare industry that they work in, and it would be devastating to the already struggling healthcare system that we have.
The aging services industry is contending with over 300,000 openings on any given day, according to data from Leading Age. But it's more than the jobs themselves. The relationships between caretakers and their elderly clients aren't easily replaced.
You become family after a while.
You know, it's very personal care. That relationship is what makes it work.
This pause for Haitian TPS holders is just temporary while this case moves its way through the courts. Meanwhile, a DHS spokesperson said about the Haitian TPS program, quote, was never intended to be a de facto asylum program, yet that's how previous administrations have used it for decades. In New York, I'm Lee Waldman.
All automated license plate readers in Mountain View, California are now turned off. It's after an audit of the flock safety pilot program revealed data had been accessed by the federal government. The city's police chief says his department was unaware. Reporter Amanda Hari spoke with city leaders and law enforcement experts about what happened and what's next.
All the automated license plate readers in Mountain View are now offline. The police chief made the decision days after learning federal agencies access data from the cameras.
I was upset, to be honest.
Mayor Emily Ann Ramos says if they knew that was a possibility, the council may not have agreed to have the flock safety cameras installed.
The council voted to put this in unanimously into 2024. And We were given a lot of assurances that we would have control over our data and who gets access to it, and it definitely would not be used by anyone in the federal government. And that clearly wasn't the case.
But Privacy Litigation Director at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Adam Schwartz, says it was always a possibility.
When a local police department collects license plate data, they are playing with fire.
The city of Mountain View claims a setting was enabled without the police department's permission or knowledge. A department-initiated audit found federal law enforcement agencies accessed the data during a nationwide search back in 2024. Flock did not retain records from that time, so they don't know if the searches resulted in license plate information being shared. But Schwartz is concerned about the risk if the city ever uses it again.
And they put our immigrant neighbors at risk of a hostile federal government getting their hands on data that can be used to deport people because somebody clicked the wrong box on a platform.
But former FBI Special Agent Jeffrey Harp has a different take on the cameras.
There's probably more good than bad that comes from it.
He believes turning off access to all other agencies limits how effective the cameras can be.
It just means that other law enforcement agencies aren't going to be able to tap into that to help solve crimes. You know, it's really sort of an intelligence database that they've created, and it's been very productive.
In a statement from Police Chief Mike Canfield, he said he's angry and frustrated by Flock's safety, and he understands if citizens feel the same way, saying, "Community trust is more important than any individual tool. We know that the most vital asset in public safety is not technology. It is the relationship we have with you, the people we're here to serve and protect." He explains the cameras will remain inactive until the city council provides further direction. They're supposed to discuss it at their February 24th meeting.
We'll have to ensure that our police department can still maintain a high level of service for our residents. I'm just not sure if we're willing to make that trade-off for the ALPRs again.
California state law bans any license plate reader information from being sold, shared, or transferred to any out-of-state or federal agencies without a court order or warrant. The Food and Drug Administration has approved a new natural food dye as part of Health Department's Make America Healthy Again campaign. It's called Beetroot Red. The FDA banned red dye number 3 last year, and California has banned others. The FDA is also allowing products with natural dyes to be labeled no artificial colors. That was previously allowed only for products where no dyes of any kind were used. And on the subject of roots, it's a big week in the Imperial County community of Holtville. Holtville is at the center of an agricultural area known for growing carrots. And as Ken Kramer shows us, for almost 80 years, the town has honored the carrot with a parade and festival in February.
Consider, please, the carrot.
Carrots, carrots, carrots.
Loved by bunnies and humans, popular root vegetable. And nowhere more so than here, 125 miles east of San Diego, in Holtville. Home of the Carrot Festival every year, an all-in civic-wide salute to the carrot. Firm, crisp, carotene-laden, and in Holtville, a reason to celebrate.
This event really is all about honoring the carrot, which really is a symbol of Holtville.
No wonder then that come February, when it's festival time, you see carrots everywhere. The best classic cars are adorned with bouquets of them. And the Carrot Parade draws so many people into a joyous celebration of what Holtville is today. And what Holtville is today goes back to the vision of Mr. William Franklin Holt. Here he is. He pretty much built the town and a railroad line to and from it. And at Carrot Time, Festival Coordinator Yvette Rios says, you think about him.
We're honoring him. We're honoring, the vision that he has created that has come to life here, which we know as Holtville and the Imperial Valley.
From the crossroads in the center of town, go just a couple of blocks, and there is the historical marker that tells the story of and pays tribute to him, So that's W.F. Holt. Now about the carrot, you see it everywhere here. Things made of carrots, t-shirts honoring the carrot, farmers and local merchants saying, here you go, have a bag of them. Bunches and boxes of carrots, locally grown around Holtville.
It's really our symbol. We have a lot of love for the carrot.
Going back generations, in the 1940s, 11,000 acres of carrots were grown and picked in the Imperial Valley. Local companies labeled and proudly shipped carrots all over the country. Well, that was cause for celebration, and so in 1947 and every year since, Holtville hasn't held back, throwing a carrot festival with a queen and court, and a carnival, and that car show. And with so many people come to watch, a parade so filled with unabashed joy in orange and green.
And the carrot is kind of also a symbol of the prosperity of the town and how, we've grown to be successful. We love being a small, quiet community, but while still thriving.
Indeed, today, 90% of carrots consumed in the United States come from the Imperial Valley. Each of us, on average, consumes between 8 and 12 pounds of them a year. And Holtville, population 7,000, can and does rightly proclaim itself to be the carrot capital of the world. So when you do, please consider the carrot. Think of Holtville, where since 1947, they've celebrated it like no place else on earth.
And the Holtville Carrot Parade is planned for this Saturday at 10 a.m. And if you want to see more of Ken Kramer's stories, you can watch his half-hour show every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock right here on KPBS.
Taking a look at our headlines here as those winds continue to diminish and temperatures start to drop a little bit, even a slight chance of some showers for the mountain regions. A drier, warmer weekend ahead and even continuing into early next week before we watch what could be some more widespread precipitation possible as we head into next week. So tonight, more clouds here, then a clear sky tonight, 56 in San Diego, 55 at Oceanside, and 53 in Chula Vista. Those clouds, especially along the coast, work to keep temperatures a little higher than we would be without the cloud coverage. Even Borrego Springs and Mount Laguna in on the clouds with temperatures into the 30s and 40s. Friday, still a nice day. It's not the record heat that we've been dealing with here, but overall pretty nice, and the warmer weather across most of the Four Corners region. We're seeing temperatures return closer to the historical average, which puts highs back into the 60s for many, and we'll see some sunshine, some clouds, 75 in Borrego Springs, 45 Mount Laguna, 67 in San Diego. A pretty nice way to wrap up the week. How's the weekend shaking out? Well, pretty good. There will be the return of at least some showers, rain, and even mountain snow across the northwest, even northern parts of California, but we remain dry. But here's that pattern change ahead as we head into the middle and end of next week here. That's going to bring us the return of some cooler weather, and will also bring back those precipitation chances. Along the coast, though, the next 5 days, you can see the next 4 days are quite nice after some fog Saturday morning. Turns out to be a nice weekend. But then look at by Tuesday, there's the showers returning and cooler air as well. All right, similar forecast here. Further inland temperatures, though, will really start to increase. Remember, I talked about that weekend warm-up. Look at that. Sunday even into Monday before showers arrive on Tuesday. And then into the mountains, stays a little bit chilly through Saturday, and then we get a nice sunny day on Sunday. Clouds return on Tuesday, and will be cloudier and cooler into the desert regions as we head into next week. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
The Super Bowl 60 is consistently the most watched television event in the U.S. each year, and that's a lot of pressure for advertisers who spend millions of dollars on commercials. Jen Sullivan met up with one beer company's marketing department to learn how they crafted their Super Bowl ad.
When it comes to Super Bowl commercials,
why didn't they invite us? Well, we're salty.
The competition to win your attention may be just as fierce as the competition on the field.
When you talk about the Super Bowl, the pressure is always high.
Ricardo Marquez is the vice president of marketing for Michelob Ultra, one of the many beer brands that's owned by Anheuser-Busch. This year's ad is called the Ultra Instructor, featuring big names like Kurt Russell,
strap in,
and Lewis Pullman, who skis against NHL player and former Olympian TJ Oshie and gold medalist Chloe Kim for the ultimate prize, not having to pick up the bar tab.
Here we have the opportunity to connect with an audience of 100+ million consumers.
Last year, more than 127 million people on average in the U.S. tuned into the Super Bowl, according to Nielsen. It's consistently the most watched event on television every year. For marketing companies, it's a whole year of planning on the line that boils down to 30, or in this case, 60 seconds on the clock.
This was a multi-month process.
And it comes with a multi-million-dollar price tag. NBC, which is carrying the big game this year, says some companies are paying upwards of $10 million for a 30-second spot. And while Michelob Ultra won't release what they paid, they did say it's a big financial investment, which is why their team spends an entire year working on it.
Humor, nostalgia, or inspiration, emotion always wins on the Super Bowl stage.
Marcus says while you want to create something memorable, the ultimate goal is promoting your product. They also measure success by how much buzz the commercial gets online, which is why many companies now release their ads ahead of the Super Bowl. And Monday morning, it's back to the drawing board to come up with next year's big idea. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On NPR's Morning Edition, A. Martinez speaks with an author about what to expect from Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show performance. And on KPBS Roundtable, we speak with student journalists about the significance of the profession and their outlook on the future of news coverage. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Enjoy your evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.